Welcome to Parenting 101 podcast. If you are listening to this, you are probably experiencing conflict within your family dynamic. My name is Katie, and I will be guiding you through some potential parent-child conflicts along with my colleagues Melissa and Chong.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and we are aware that not all families are the same, and many different cultures may handle and experience conflicts differently.
Hey guys, my name is Chong. So, our job today on today's podcast will be revolved around what we call the conflict wheel. Before we go into details of a specific conflicts and maybe some of our guests' issues, we want to go over some of the basic on what conflict is and break down what the conflict wheel is for all you troubled parents out there. So, let's get started.
Like Chung stated, the first step in conflict is to understand what it is and how it occurs. We will be referencing the conflict wheel. There's 5 stages that we will be going over today, so listen carefully.
To start us off, stage 1 is a prelude to conflict, which consists of the variables that make conflict possible between those involved. This is the participants in the conflict, relationships between them, other interested parties, and the physical and social environment of the conflict situation.
The triggering event is the second stage of our conflict wheel. This is a stage where there is a behavior or action that either of the parties points out to as the main issue on where the conflict began.
Stage 3 is the initiation of conflict. This stage occurs when the conflict becomes overt to both parties, which means that conflict starts when both parties know that their opposing sides have collided.
The next stage is stage 4, the differentiation phase. This is an ongoing interaction pattern that occurs when the participants use constructive or destructive strategies and tactics. Some examples of this is when both parties present both sides of the story, moving back and forth and escalating and de-escalating the conflict.
And finally, the last stage of the conflict wheel is a resolution stage. This is the stage where both parties come together to a mutual agreement or resolve the issue at the end of the conflict. Most of the time, it results in a solution where it prevents those from being involved from getting into the same conflict once again.
So here we have a letter that has been submitted by a couple from San Diego, and they seem to be having a parent-child conflict. It reads, "Hey guys, love the podcast and effort that you guys have been putting in and day out. It's extremely helpful and has gotten us through a lot. Today, we've come to you with another problem with our child. He's 18 years old, and at that age, they are always up to no good. And so we set a reasonable curfew for him at midnight. He didn't respond well to the curfew rule, so we got into a huge argument with him. He felt like he was entitled to certain things because he's working, has good grades, and is going away for college. And as parents, we felt like kids his age are bound to do something dumb and risk his chances of going away to college. Recently, we caught him sneaking into the house after 3 a.m., and we tried calling him at least 5 times. To add to that, he had zero explanation why he came home so late. We argued and yelled at each other for about an hour, and after that, both me and my husband felt frustrated and angry, and he stormed out of the house. What should we have done to prevent that?"
So let's start breaking down this conflict so you parents understand each stage a little bit more. The prelude of the conflict is definitely the fact of the disagreement of the enforced rules on him. He has felt like it shouldn't be there and you guys did. It's as simple as that.
The triggering event in this case would be the moment that you guys caught your son. On top of that, you guys caught him sneaking into the house and not answering your calls back. To be truthful, that would trigger a lot of parents off. Not just you guys, because it makes you fear the worst and you guys begin to worry about the safety of your child. That leads us to the initiation of the conflict. The initiation of the conflict is where both parties are now aware that there is a conflict, which probably would mean in this case that you guys were yelling at him, asking what he was doing, where he was at, and when he didn't answer any of those questions, you guys raised your voice and that's where they initiated the conflicts.
I agree. Once there's a discussion between you and your child, that means you have entered the differentiation phase. This usually includes a lot of yelling back and forth. However, as parents, you want to focus more on asking your child questions. You want to focus on questions that doesn't sound forced in an attacking manner, but instead ask questions that allow them to respond back. For example, you can ask, why are you continuously staying out past your curfew? What are you doing while you're out? Why should we extend your curfew hours? You want to stay away from questions like, were you out doing drugs and drinking? Who are those friends that you've been sneaking around with? Are you trying to test our limits and patience? Try having a constructive conversation where your child is able to talk to you and you're able to move to the fifth stage, resolution.
So the final stage during these conflicts is a resolution stage. This is where you hopefully reach an agreement with your child. If you and your child have talked things through and you do believe that he's not lying and he's not getting into trouble while staying out late, maybe you guys can work on a mutual agreement to prevent an issue from coming up again. Here are some things that we consider that you guys trying to do. You guys can extend their hours if they're staying out late, or they have to call you and see how long they'll take until they'll be home. Things like these will keep both parties from getting into a conflict again. Think of things that both parties can deal with on a regular basis. Try to stay away from being so close-minded and try to understand their point of view as well. In doing so, this will most likely prevent future conflicts from arising.
We hope this podcast series has helped you identify the different stages of conflict. We have found that the tools and knowledge of the different stages on conflict can significantly help you assess your situation. It can often lead to positive resolutions when you are able to break down an issue. Thank you for listening, parents. Our next podcast series will be available on January 25th, 2018. The next segment of our series will dive deeper into conflict mediation. What do you guys think?
I think it was good.
Yeah, it was good.